Hello, everybody. Today's review is going to be of a show called The Innocents. Um, yeah, CENTS, not like the word innocence, just innocence. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Anyway, which I gave a 7 out of 10 to because I found the pacing of the show a little bit slow, but it is what it is. Not every show, obviously, I am going to, you know, enjoy, as much as the last. So yeah, it just felt a little slow paced and a little dry at times. Now, don't get me wrong, it had its moments and it had its twists for sure, but the twist at the end just wasn't enough for me to really like give it any better than a 7. The twist at the end kind of maybe bumped it up a little bit more for me because I was like, okay, that's kind of a cool twist. But it was seemed a little bit predictable too, in a sense. For certain things that were going to happen. Now, the ending was kind of just like, why would they do that? But we'll get into that a little bit more after I go over the cast list. So we had Sasha Groundsell as June, Purcell Ascot as Harry, Sam uh, Hazeldine as John, who was June's father, Nadine Marshall, who played Christine, who was Henry's mom, or Harry's mom, I guess. Sorry. Lauren Byrne, who was Elena, June's mother, uh, Johannes Hawker Johannesson, who played Steiner, who was, I guess, working with one of the other guys in the show and trying to get June to this island to make herself better, or at least that's what he believed in the beginning. And then obviously, as things progress, he finds out more about what this doctor's doing, right, and slowly tries to stop it from happening. And then we had Ingun Bate Owen, who played Runa, who was Cam slash Freya's mother. We'll get into that a little bit more. Guy Pearce, who played Hulverson, who was the doctor of this so-called like island or like sanctuary for all of these women with these powers that he was trying to make better, but it seemed that he was actually at the end of the show, it seems like he was more trying to control their powers and use them for himself, um, as we found out. Then we had Leice Reese and Olsen as Sigrid, who was one of the other women in this sanctuary with everybody else. We had Arthur Hughes as Ryan, who was June's brother. Philip Wright, who played Lewis Polk, who was Harry's dad. Abigail Hordenham, who played Cam or Freya, Cam and Freya, I guess Cam slash Freya. Andrew Koji, who played Andrew, who was Cam's boyfriend, and then we had Sabrina Bartlett, who played Lil, who was this one of the many people that Harry and June kind of met on their adventures, I guess, as they were trying to escape. Now, they believe that they're kind of being held down, I guess, in this little tiny town that they live in. So they want to run away together, obviously, because they feel like they love each other. Now, obviously, June didn't know that her father was protecting her using these sedatives to kind of keep her powers at bay so that she didn't end up the same way as her mother. And have to eventually just leave, right? Because there's this whole basically there's a crime that Harry's mother is trying to figure out because she's a cop, and she believes that somehow uh, Elena was involved with their father's, like Harry's father's, coma, and the fact that like when he came out of it, he wasn't the same person obviously anymore. He just kind of kept repeating the same things, and it was all just memories from him and Elena being together. So it was kind of unfortunate that that's how that ended up. Now, I guess none of the people, except for the older lady, which was the last one that Elena had touched and, what did they call it? Like, I guess, morphed into, essentially, that's not the word they used for it, but I can't remember exactly what word it was that they used for it again. Was it? Oh my god! I guess I should have written that down. That was the one thing that I didn't write down. But shift. I think it was called shifting. I think that might have been right. Forgive me, correct me if I'm wrong. I guess for people who have maybe seen the show more than I have, or remember that at least part of it anyway. But yeah, so I was right from the very beginning of the show. There were shapeshifters, obviously, and then we get to the two, I guess, kind of like main characters, June and Harry, writing notes back and forth to one another, and they are in Hordaland County in Norway. So there was kind of gave me like a Midsummer vibe in certain parts of the show, where he's like slowly trying to build this community of people who obviously are going to follow him, right? And it seemed to be all women. So I was kind of wondering, like, was he trying to build a community of women, and then eventually, once he got control of them, he would start, building a bigger community with like men and women, sort of thing. Like it was very strange. He was the only man there, right? So, but I guess he was kind of doing it like Holverson was doing it for his own reasons, obviously. Uh, he had, yeah, like he had his own reasons for what he was doing and why he wanted to get June to the island, because he wanted to save, um, Runa, and that was his main goal. Now he tried to use Freya's powers a long time ago to get her to kind of, I guess, transform, but June was more special because she could actually feel the people's like when she shifted into somebody else's body, she somehow took on like their whole entire form. So when she took on the one nurse's form, she was she actually ended up being pregnant with like the child that this nurse had. So that was kind of crazy. But then when she transforms back, none of that has happened. Now in the very end of the show, when they're trying to escape and June's mother Elena turns herself in, and Harry and June try to escape, because I guess, yeah, at this point Harry's mother thinks that June's going to be this huge danger. She's going to be the exact same as Elena and hurt Harry. Now, obviously, that's not actually what happens, but it does look that way from a certain standpoint, I guess, if you were just coming up to the car and then all of a sudden you saw the crash. But they do blow a tire trying to escape. They hit this tree, and then June seems to be dying, and Harry says, you have to use your powers on me, sort of thing. Like, you have to shift into my body so that you can save yourself, you can live. Now, of course, June's in pretty bad condition, so she shifts into Harry's body, and then Harry's mom comes up to the car, and he tries to say, don't touch me, like, I'm going to shift again, sort of thing, and shifts into her. And then, of course, June tries to, like, slowly convince herself, because when they were in this place called Sanctum, where June's mom is, after June gets a phone call from her, and then Holverson comes to see her, sort of thing, and Steiner's still after her, so we think, but it turns out that Steiner's trying to save her, and then Steiner runs into Cam and realizes that it's Freya, and starts following her. And then I guess Freya must have shifted herself into Steiner's body, because she comes onto the island, and obviously, things are not going well at that point anyway. But yeah, what was I saying there? So at the end of the show, yeah, the shifting happens, and then she turns into Harry's mother, and then she tries to shift back into herself, because when she had shifted into her own mother, it was like the two of them touched, and then June just shifted and almost couldn't come out from being her mother, because she was just accessing all of her mother's memories and seeing what had happened, obviously, with Harry's dad, and, like, truly kind of found her mom like a monster, although her mom obviously didn't mean to do what she had done, right? Like, it wasn't, like, her fault. She was just kind of scared in the moment, I guess, and constantly changing. Obviously, after she had shifted into Polk's body, she was frightened and just kind of kept shifting everywhere she went. So I don't think, yeah, obviously she didn't really have control of her powers, and she found Holverson and then, wanted to have some guidance, but nothing seemed to really be changing. And I guess her trigger was love, and I guess like kind of all of them had like a certain trigger um, that would set them off and make them, kind of like access their power sort of thing. Now, of course, let's just say Holverson was not very nice with Freya. He was electrocuting her, trying to get her to use her powers. And when he finds June, he knows that because she can shift and then also carry like the person's powers, memories. Sometimes she's even able to do what that person was done, so she's able to like pick up their skills, sort of thing. So it's all very interesting. Um, so June was like extra special. So he knew that if he could get her to shift into uh, Runa's body, that I guess Runa would live much longer, obviously, through June, right? Now, of course, Runa realizes that now she has to kind of step up, and she's seen what has happened to her daughter, thanks to who she thought was Steiner in the beginning, but actually finds out that it is Freya. And Freya does leave her because, unfortunately, Runa kind of like just threw Freya to the side and chose to stay with Holverson instead in the beginning. So I guess she was trying to protect her daughter in her own way, but she was scared and weak and didn't really understand her own powers, I guess. So she kind of wanted to understand why she wasn't able to have control over them. And now that she seems to be fixed, it seems that Holverson's trying to tell her she has like dementia or something, which I don't think was ever true. He was just trying to, like, I guess he just worked kind of the memories of Runa's daughter completely out of her just so he could keep her there. Um, and maybe she was getting sick. I don't really know. And maybe he was really trying to save her, but it almost seemed like he was definitely going about it the wrong way, obviously, with keeping the daughter and the mother separate, because maybe he could have worked something out between the two of them where the daughter was the one that shifted into her mother and was able to save her mom and take on her memories, because Freya was the exact same way, where she could kind of like carry the memories and seem to have like some of the, yeah, I don't know, because she kept shifting into her boyfriend, right? So, but she was doing it in like the weirdest ways, like burning herself with a cigarette, and then like she was self-harming just so she could shift, but she was able to do it anytime she wanted and do it for very long periods of time. And she was trying to show June that she could do the same thing, but she went about it the wrong way too, because she was already so lost um, in the world that she was in, and obviously being thrown away by your own mother would obviously be traumatic. So she was carrying a lot of baggage herself, I would say, by the time she even met June. And she kept saying, I can bring you to your mother, but that wasn't going to be the case. And then, of course, she, realized that, um, she was putting June in danger by even suggesting that she go with Holverson, because I guess she would have already known what she had been through, right? But Steiner clearly wouldn't have. And in the beginning, obviously, he was trying to help Holverson and get June to the island. And he was a madman, really. Like when he was set on a mission, it was kind of crazy. And June first transforms into Steiner in the beginning of the show. So that was her first transformation. And then, of course, Harry's kind of back and forth with her about, make up your mind. You either want this kind of a life or you want to be with me, sort of thing. Like, we ran away and we didn't understand or know that any of this was going to happen in the very beginning when we ran away. So why are we trying to figure it out now? Let's just kind of keep going with our lives and we'll figure it out as we go, which isn't a bad way to look at it, but also June's going to end up hurting somebody and not even be meaning to hurt them. It's just going to kind of happen. So I think the best actions did take place, but it was kind of unfortunate that all these secrets were unlocked, and of course Holverson trying to hold Harry there and tell June that he had left. Like, her dad wasn't buying it because her dad also stayed there, And he was very suspicious of Holverson, and for good reason, obviously, because although Holverson maybe had like his own, like he had his own reason for doing what he was doing to save Runa and to save Sigrid and all of them, like he ended up just kind of keeping them there because I feel like he didn't want anybody to know what he was doing or why he was doing it, obviously. Because, yeah, he was trying to control them. And, even Freya said, like, this place isn't what you think, obviously, after showing them the tapes of what had happened to her. It was just kind of crazy. So, yeah, they luckily they did get away. Now, it was a very big twist ending, of course, with Runa killing Holverson. I was like, but I did not think that was going to happen at all. And he was begging and pleading for his life. Now, do I think he deserved to die for what he did? Probably not, but he definitely didn't deserve to be let off that island for sure again. Like, they could have trapped him there. That may have been a better fate for him, but it is what it is. I guess, Runa had finally had enough and, realized that she needed to be strong um, in order to, obviously protect her daughter. And I feel like because Freya came back, even though she was disguised as Steiner, it still, kind of brought out that a little bit of a warrior spirit in Runa, I guess you could say. So yeah, kind of a couple twist ending, or kind of a couple twists at the ending, and then of course it seems like June and Harry just die. So after all they've been through and everything, they just both get into a crash, and June can't save herself. Uh, Kind of thanks to Harry's mother, in a sense. So it was kind of a sad ending, and I'm like, really? After all of this, and that's how you're going to end the show? It seemed like it was poorly written at the end. Like they could have escaped, or they could have at least caught them, and kind of proved that none of what had happened was really on purpose. You know what I mean? Like it happened, but nobody meant for it to happen. So we nobody was trying to hurt anybody's family or anybody. Like there was no malicious intent behind what Alina did. So I think they could have proven that, but I guess they went a totally different direction than probably what I would have went. Yeah, that's how I would have written the end of the show anyway. Is that they would have proven Elena's innocence, that she wasn't doing any of what she did with a malicious intent. Obviously, the cheating I don't agree with. Like that's not great. But again, they did. I guess they did love each other, and she ended up just hurting the wrong people, um, which is unfortunate. But it is what it is. Um, with that whole situation, and at least she was brave enough to come back and turn herself in. So I have to give her kudos for that. But I think that's pretty much everything I can say. And I do think I said um, I do think I said the rating. Oh my god, I don't know why I couldn't think there. So, but in case I didn't, 7 out of 10 for this show, and I will see you guys in the next review. Bye bye for now.